Good day, this is Josa Fernandez, and I'm going to report about structuralism and post structuralism. First, we have the structuralism. Structuralism, in a broader sense, is a way of perceiving the world in terms of structures. First seen in the work of anthropologist Claude Lévi-Strauss and the literary critic Roland Barthes. The essence of structuralism is the belief that things cannot be understood in isolation. They have to be seen in the context of larger structures they are part of. The context of larger structures do not exist by themselves, but are formed by our way of perceiving the world. In structuralist criticism, consequently, there is a constant movement away from the interpretation of the individual literary work towards understanding the larger structures which contain them. Structuralists believe that the underlying structures, which organize rules and units into meaningful systems, are generated by the human mind itself and not by sense of perception. Structuralism tries to reduce the complexity of human experiences to certain underlying structures, which are universal, an idea which has its roots in the classicists like Aristotle, who identified simple structures as forming the basis of life. A structure can be defined as any conceptual system that has three properties: wholeness, which means the system should function as a whole; transformation, system should not be static; and self-regulation, the basic structure should not be changed. Now let's move on to the basic principles of structuralism. First, we have all phenomena, including language, culture, and society, can be analyzed in terms of underlying structures and systems. Second, these structures and systems can be understood through their underlying rules and patterns. These rules and patterns are unconscious and universal, and therefore shape our understanding of the world without our conscious awareness. And last, we have structuralism emphasizes the importance of objectivity and formal analysis in the study of phenomena. Now let's talk about the philosophical stance of structuralism. First, we have ontology, or what being is, or the essence of being. In terms of ontology, a structuralist approach to literature would view the text as composed of various underlying structures, such as language, symbols, and themes that interact to create meaning. Each part of the text is seen as part of larger system, with its own particular place and function within that system. For example, a structuralist might analyze how the characters, setting, and plot of a story are all interconnected and contribute to the overall meaning of the text. Second, we have the epistemology. From an epistemological standpoint, a structuralist approach to literature emphasizes the importance of rules and patterns in interpreting and understanding the text. Language and symbols are seen as being organized according to specific systems of meaning, and understanding those systems is essential to understanding the text as a whole. A structuralist analysis might therefore involve identifying and examining the patterns of symbolism, metaphor, or narrative structure that recur throughout the text. Lastly, we have the methodological stance. The methodological stance of structuralism involves analyzing a text as a whole and examining the relationships between its various elements. Rather than focusing on individual characters or events, an analytical approach would emphasize the larger structures and systems that underlie the text. For example, a structuralist analysis of a novel might involve mapping out the narrative arcs of each character, tracing how they intersect and relate to each other, and identifying the themes and symbols that recur throughout the text. This analysis would prioritize the structures and systems that produce meaning over the individual details of the story. Next, we have the post structuralism. Post structuralism is a theoretical framework that emerged in the mid 20th century as a response to structuralism, a school of thought that focused on the underlying structures and systems that shape language, culture, and society. Post structuralism, on the other hand, critiques and challenges the idea of fixed structures and seeks to expose the inherent contradictions and complexities within them. Post structuralism seeks to destabilize dominant discourses and question the assumptions and power relations that undergird them. It emphasizes the importance of this deconstructing texts and exploring the various interpretations that can be derived from them. For example, there are the basic principles of post structuralism. First, language is not a neutral tool for communication, but is rather a source of power and subjectivity that shapes our perceptions of reality. Two, meaning is not fixed but rather constantly in flux and dependent on an individual's experiences and cultural background. Three, power relations and social structures are embedded in language and discourse and are constantly being negotiated and redefined. Fourth, there is no universal truth or fixed meaning. Instead, interpretation is contextual and constantly evolving. The philosophical stance of post structuralism involves an ontological understanding of reality as fragmented and constructed by language and discourse, an epistemological stance that emphasizes subjectivity and the multiple interpretations of meaning, and a methodological approach that seeks to deconstruct dominant discourses and ideologies. We have the ontology. Post structuralism challenges the idea of a singular and stable reality. Instead, it posits that reality is fragmented and constructed by language and discourse. For example, post structuralists argue that identity is not a stable and fixed construct, but rather a fluid and ever changing concept that is shaped by language and discourse. Second, epistemology. Post structuralism asserts that knowledge is subjective and contextual, rather than objective and universal. It emphasizes that there are multiple interpretations of meaning and that understanding is dependent on an individual's experiences and cultural background. For example, post structural analysis For example, post-structural analysis of a text might involve exploring how different interpretations of language and discourse reveal different meanings and understandings of the text. Now we have the methodological stance. Now we have the methodological stance. Post-structuralism utilizes a deconstructive methodology, which involves questioning dominant discourses and ideologies to uncover the underlying power relations and assumptions that shape our understanding of the world. This methodology seeks to challenge and disrupt the ways in which language and discourse are used to reinforce hierarchies and power structures. For example, a post-structuralist analysis of gender might involve exploring how gender is constructed and reinforced by language, and how language can be used to challenge and subvert traditional gender roles. In summary, post-structuralism challenges traditional understandings of reality, knowledge, and methodology, emphasizing the fluidity and subjectivity of meaning and highlighting the ways in which language and discourse are used to construct power relations and ideologies.